Hi, we're JPJV Consulting, and we're here presenting Eagle Current, our solution for reducing marketing waste across campus.
Hi, my name is Carroll, and I'm a sophomore majoring in computer science and mathematics.
And I'm Jacqueline Vasquez. I'm also a sophomore studying finance and econ as a double major. And JPJV's vision is to reduce marketing waste on campus and redesign how students engage with on-campus life. Our mission has three parts: to reduce waste, improve engagement, as well as redesign how students discover events on campus.
Have you seen these posters on campus? Yeah, there are hundreds of these posters on campus that students walk by every day. The problem is that it creates material waste, has low marketing efficiency, and misses much of student body at BC.
In our investigation, we found that OSI approves over 500 poster designs every year, and these are reprinted and posted all across campus many times over. At any given moment, we estimate that there are around 2,000 posters in high traffic areas all across campus. And the issue with these posters is that they're short-lived. So they are out for a couple weeks and then they're replaced, restarting this ongoing cycle of printing, posting, and posting and wasting material. So you'd expect all of this to drive significant engagement, right? But we actually found that around 75% of BC students don't ever notice these posters, and around 66.7 BC students don't ever stop to read these posters.
So the problem is that Wilson College does not have a shortage of current event solutions. So there are Instagrams, email, posters, flyers, club newsletters, group chats, and MyBC. And we found that BC students often discover events through digital channels, especially social media and email. But despite all these options, none are built for fast, intuitive discovery. And that becomes clear when we take a closer look. So email and social media has real-time updates and built-in reminders, but it only reaches students who already signed up. For posters and flyers, it's everywhere, but no one really reads it and it's overcrowded. MyBC centralizes all the information together, but almost no one opens it and it's desktop first. And Quark is an app for improving the access, but there's no push reminders and it lacks personalization.
So this is our solution, Eagle Current, an app that reduces poster waste and makes discovery easier for our students. EC offers three main features. First is a personalized feed, which allows students to discover events that are suggested to them based on their areas of interest, as well as the clubs that they already follow. And they will get event reminders and the ability to sync the events to their calendar so that they never miss the events that they actually care about. Second is a live map, which allows them to see nearby events in real time, assess their popularity, and see if they would actually want to attend these events. And last is the impact, so they can track how many posters are avoided by using the app, and also see the long-term sustainability impact over time.
And this is for OSI and clubs too. So it works in 3 steps: submit, promote, and reward. Clubs first submit their event information and request OSI approval. Once the event is approved, it is promoted through students' bid, map, and reminders. And the event will appear in the shareable link, and clubs can share their highlights and posts similarly to Instagram. And then once they select digital first policy, they can get a tier-based incentive like gold, bronze, or silver. So OSI can track digital first participation and offers tier-based incentives. And we'll talk about the incentive later in the implementation plan. And we looked at both student demand and stakeholder analysis. So we asked BC students, if BC had an app for campus events, how likely would you be to use it? And interestingly, 75 of BC students are likely or very likely to use the app. And our primary stakeholders will be students, student organizations, and OSI. Students will get easier access to event discovery. Student organizations get a flexible way to promote their events. And OSI can get a flexible and manageable system for their approval. And our secondary stakeholders will be Campus Sustainability Office and DCIT and facilities. And these groups can benefit from tracking sustainability impact, providing a technical support, and facilities will get a less physical posting burden. So our solution is built for student use, but it actually extends across different parts of campus. And this is our projected reduction in print and promotion. So we asked OSI office, like, how many posters approval do you guys get? And they said they get 500 posters per year, and the average prints per submission, we assumed it as 30 prints. So the baseline will be 50,000 prints per year, and if 50% of that is shifted to the digital platform, 7,500 prints will be avoided, and we'll be able to save $3,750. So even the moderate adoption can produce measurable operational and financial impact. This is our CO2 reduction impact. So at our expected scenario, replacing 50% of poster-based promotion would avoid 7,500 prints. And it is equivalent to approximately 300 kilograms CO2 emission avoided annually. And this is based on EPA warp life cycle source.
So next we're going to look at how we can implement legal current. So our plan begins with app development, which will start from now until August. And this phase will focus on building a fully functional app that is user-friendly and prepared for use in real life. Next, we will move on to launch a pilot program in the early fall, which will take around 30 clubs, so a small group of clubs, and practice training them and gather feedback to identify any bugs or usability issues before we officially launch in September. And so in September, we will launch, and through the involvement fair, which will be our main marketing channel, but we will also support that with ongoing marketing efforts throughout the fall semester. And then following, to encourage early adoption, we will offer microgrants at the beginning, and then we will slowly transition into a digital first policy, which we will touch on in more detail later on.
So we're going to run marketing strategy from September to December. For initial launch, we'll start it at involvement fair activation. So we'll put QR codes at each different people to make sure that students can download the app, EduCurrent, and subscribe to that specific club. And we'll be hosting a dedicating people for our staff, which will provide a live app demo, installation support, and we'll probably run like a giveaway or raffle for driving the signups. And we'll continue doing the marketing channels using these three primary channels, which are in-app engagement loop, institutional channel, and social sharing. So for in-app engagement loop, we'll probably put push notifications, post campus highlights, and continue re-engagement. And for institutional channel, clubs can promote their events via EduCurrent. And OSI can email promotions for campus-wide adoption for students. And as students share their events and club content, they might do peer-to-peer discovery or use word of mouth so that we can share it to different students.
To improve adoption, we will implement a strategy built around two phases. So we will start with the OSI microgrants, and once key metrics are met, we will move on to the digital first policy. So let's take a look at phase one, OSI microgrants. So this will be evaluated on a semester basis, and we will track progress through the digital adoption rate pictured here, and we will target a benchmark of around 70% club-wide adoption. Each club will be placed in each tier, so bronze being 30% digital adoption and receiving a $50 grant, silver, which is 50% digital adoption, receiving a $100 grant, and then gold, 80% adoption rate, receiving a $150 grant. So once around 70% of clubs reach over 50% digital adoption, so either gold or silver, we will transition over to phase two. So before we look at phase two, let's look at the cost projections for this program. So we assumed that OSI manages around 200 clubs, and we assume that there's going to be a 70% participation rate. We get around 140 participants. We place them in each of the respective tiers along with their corresponding microgrants, and we project this across 2 years, so 4 semesters. And we found that the total cost of UC is going to be around $11,000 per semester. So next, we will move on to the digital first policy. So this is a campus-wide policy that requires all clubs to submit events digitally before printing any posters. Overall, this will follow the kind of the mindset of digital first and then print only when necessary. Overall, this instills long-term behavioral change, improves the data tracking, and increases efficiency for clubs.
Like any other new platforms, there are obviously risks, but they're manageable. So first, it might be a low adoption, but we can address this issue by incentivizing clubs by providing funding or increasing visibilities. For data accuracy, we can require clubs to update and follow the expectations we put on the app. And then our solution initially targets only club marketing material, but we can reach out to different academic departments or professors for help. And there is a risk of platform fragmentation because there are a lot of solutions at EC. So we'll start with positioning EagleCurrent as a hub that complements existing channels rather than replacing them immediately. And as we talk about the cost projections, it might be an incentive cost burden. So we can start out with a pilot first, cap funding, and evaluate before the expansion.
Yeah, so in summary, we think that OSI should adopt EagleCurrent as a digital first event promotion platform to help reduce waste, poster waste, improve event visibility, and help student organizations reach students more efficiently. Thank you.
I really like this. I like this idea. I think one of the things that I feel like is that students often don't know is, pointing out, like, I think the way that people learn about events doesn't always target to their interests. So it is not only at clubs, but also the various speakers. And I think the administration could like this too, because you hear administrators complain all the time. It's like we bring in all these amazing people, and unless you force students to come to these events, people don't really show up to them. In fact, I've always thought it would be nice if there was a requirement from the administrators, like over the course of a semester, you have to attend, see a few speakers, and then this would be a way to kind of track that improvement. But I do want to push a little bit on the poster thing for a second. So it's a weird thing about posters. Everyone knows that no one looks at the posters, and yet everyone still puts posters up. And I think the reason for this is not because people imagine that you learn about an event from a poster, but rather because once you think that you might go to an event, when you walk past a poster, you go, oh shit, that's right, that event is coming up, right? So they do play this role of kind of reminder, these little tiny touches kind of help calcify in your mind, like, oh, that is an event. So I do worry that even if you went in this direction, there would still be pressure on groups to nonetheless put up posters. Now maybe I'm wrong about that, but I'm curious what you think.
That is what we're also worried about. So in the app, we put like how many people to sign up for that. So like we're like getting like a peer pressure for that. Like these many people are going for this event. So like even if there's like a reminder, they might feel like, oh, like why should we still like go to this event or something like that. So there are some features where they get asked for.
Yeah, there's also gonna be like push reminders so that the students know that these things are happening instead of relying on the the posters that they walk by as like little subtle reminders. They will have reminders on their phone like saying like, oh, this event is happening, or even like if they're walking by an event and it's like actively happening, like they can oh this is happening, like I should like walk over there, like check it out, maybe just to peek my head in. And so I think that's something really big. And like kind of like on the club side, you said that like they will still like want to post these posters. Yeah. So actually the digital adoption rate calculation takes into account this. So it would take into account like the total kind of marketing that they do, so printing and digital, and then also like digital on top. So if they print more posters, then that kind of rate will go down, and so then their microgram will also go down. So it keeps keeps that in mind as well when they try and apply for these microgrants.
I have two sort of related questions about student engagement with this and student use. First up, I'm really impressed that you have data about what student preferences might involve, and I'm curious to hear like how you got that data and like what sort of end you're dealing with. And then I'm also curious, thinking about your question about like how to keep this new app from getting dusty and becoming yet another app that people just ignore and swipe away the notifications. Like as it's structured and built, does it have the capacity to be integrated with pre-existing apps? Like could you integrate this with Google Calendar or something like that as a way to sort of build an ecosystem of notification and excitement?
Yeah, we can definitely sync it to the Google Calendar, so we have an app feature in there, so they can get notification from Google and also for our app. And the way we surveyed people was like we reached out to our friends first, like sending the survey, like, oh, like you're collecting this information, like have you ever seen these posters, or like are you interested in if we make an app? So like these are the survey that we provided to the students. And for integration, we're currently using the current tools MyBC, so for the data integration, so we might be able to integrate the whole apps together later. So that's our plan.
Cool.
I have a couple quick logistical questions. My first being looking through your compliance tab on the order view, and a lot of these requirements are, I'm assuming, was taken from the posting policy that the strike has. My worry is that a lot of these criteria are already built in for an event to be approved to begin with. So with the micro grants, if all 200 organizations are already meeting these criteria to get their event approved, that might have constraints on the micro grant budget that y'all mentioned, plus the inherent budgetary constraints of adding to one item across the board. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
Sorry guys, it's actually time.
Okay.
It's not clear.